Welcome to Photography Chat with Merlin. Photography Chat with Merlin.
Welcome to another episode of the Photography Chat. We're in Season 3, Episode 12, and we've got the legendary Brian Brooks with us here. He's going to be doing you are legendary, man. People love you all around. And Brian is just coming hot off of PolaCon Bay Area in San Francisco, so wanted to get him in here for a little recap on how that went, because unfortunately I wasn't able to make it down, and for the first time in several years I had like that mad feeling of FOMO, and it didn't feel so good.
You're missed. And it was the 2-year anniversary of the big shutdown.
Well, that was the last time I was in America, was for the very first PolaCon Bay Area, and we were there for the wonderful weekend that San Francisco closed its doors.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a weird time.
I scratched my head at that, like, it's been over 2 years since, like, basically we put I haven't been to Denton when they did theirs, but like it's 2 years that actually hosting a party.
Yeah, it's been a while. And it was wild to think too, because I was talking with Armand and we were trying to figure out what was the last time we saw each other, and it was like late 2019 was the last time I saw Armand and some of the other PolaPals that weren't able to make it out to San Francisco last March. Well, not last March, March 2020.
Yeah, like what's a year?
Yeah.
What's 2 years?
What's time anymore? I mean, COVID's kind of robbed us from that concept of time and everything. And yeah. It's
good. It's good to see your face. And yeah, you were missed on this one. I think this time around, obviously, the clouds kind of opened up, at least for a minute in California, because we have really strict lockdowns.
Yeah.
And people just dive bombed into it. And again, you were missed across the border. I know there's other folks coming in from other countries that couldn't get in too, or had struggles, and there's just too much logistics. But America,
Cromwell says he was going to give my soul back, but I didn't make it down. For those of you that don't know, Cromwell is an instant film photographer in the Bay Area who has a penchant for stealing people's souls through Fuji Instax.
And he'll wave it in front of you and say, "Oh, here you go." He'll tease you. I think he's like not a leprechaun. He's one of those Dungeons and Dragons characters that will just like hold on and just wave it in front of you and just give it to you at the end. I don't know.
I can't remember. Chris would probably know what that is, because he's a total D&D nerd, so he would probably fully know what that's all about. But
just a kind of a gremlin, but like with deep.
That's pretty fun. And you probably noticed that we've kind of stepped up the production a little bit of the chat here since the last time you were on.
I know you have a nice. You have like a podcast mic, and I'm like have a Sharpie. So I'm like I could have. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. I've been watching. Like, again, it's been the pandemic. What are you gonna do?
That's exactly it.
Gonna make your shit better.
Well, and then that was one of the comments I got from some people was, "This is great, but could you make the audio better for the podcast part of it?" And so I ended up investing a bunch of money in something that makes me no money at all.
Well, speaking of Polaroid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so how was PolaCon Bay Area? I mean, the social medias look like it was phenomenal. So, like, how was the event from your perspective?
Oh, it was lit. And again, this was an event that, it was a 2-year anniversary. to the weekend. And we talked. We were like, oh, can it happen? Like Omicron was kind of like waving and cresting and doing all its stupid shit, and it was good. I mean, leading up to it, it was stressful, but like the couple weeks before, it was great. And we had the same kind of event Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Some people got in early, and then there was a lot of buzz coming into it. So like a lot of people I've never met, and then there was Airbnb houses that turned into like studios, and there was a lot of things that were happening. Like, and I still had to do my day job, so I was like not part of it. But it was a good event, man. It was a good event. Like Friday we kicked off at Glass Key, buying film. My homie at the Geary Club, Jason, he hosted us. They have a nice Polaroid wall in the back, which was this big. Normal bar, like small like dive bar in the Tenderloin, and it just like started spreading all over.
That's wild.
The staple gun got out, and people were just like punching in. And that was Friday.
Awful Repeat had a question here,
comment.
said, going back to dollars, who provided / sourced the 8x10s, and thank you for that.
Oh yeah. So yeah, and I'll get to that Saturday. That was like the big like COVID release, I think.
Oh, and wait, just before we jump into that one, because Chris made a good question here before we jump into like all the PolaCon exciteness. What the heck is a PolaCon, and what do y'all do there?
Well, I am just a disciple of PolaCon. That's really coming out of Denton and the whole Instant Film Society crew. I went down there like many years after meeting you, Merlin, for the first time, and saying, "Look, I've been doing this for years too. I want to bring it to my city." And going down to Denton, saying, "Hey, I'm gonna like the Jersey guy I am. I'm gonna take this."
If you guys don't do it, I'm gonna take it.
You can't take it, but you can be part of it. I'm like, yeah, sure, that's it. And it's just a weekend of instant film love, and that's really what it is.
Yeah, it was PolaCon 4 that I met you at, and that was my second PolaCon. And so PolaCon was started by the Instant Film Society. If you're not following them on Instagram, look up Instant Film Society. And that was founded by Daniel Rodrigue, Andy Odom, Armand Cohendy, Justin, I can't remember his last name. So many dudes from Denton, Texas. And originally it was the last weekend in September, the same time that the Texas State Fair was starting up. And Armand was the one that convinced me to come down the first time. And I was a little nervous because I'd never been to Texas before, and was like super like, oh my God, I'm a brown kid going to Texas. Is this going to be okay? And it was amazing. I fell in love with Denton, and I highly recommend, if you have the opportunity to go down to either the Texas or the San Francisco event, it's amazing. It's worth the weekend. It's all free for the most part. And
Gotta get there.
Yeah, you just got to get there. And, it's a hell of the community is freaking amazing. Like, that's the thing that blew me away about the whole PolaCon thing, was just the film community and the film family that came out of it, which you're part of.
Yeah, well, and again, to that point, I was like, I met people that are literally my 4 blocks neighbors who'd been there before. Like Cromwell, first, he was like, you should go there, because we were doing the SF Instant photo walk for like over 10 years now. And he was like, you got to go there. I was like, okay, I'll go there. And I was like, yeah. And then I finally did go there. And then I started meeting people in my own community, which like Gene X, I'm going to call him out. Like he's my neighbor, and I met him in Denton, Texas, and I was like, it really rallied my spirits, and like, hey, we gotta do this in San Francisco.
Yeah, it's well in San Francisco, like being a different city and everything is a totally different vibe too. Like Denton, that sort of like Midwest deserty kind of sun that they get in Denton is kind of magnificent, and the Norman Roscoe Wall, that thing is fucking legendary.
Yeah. I overslept that first time I went there. I showed up at the end, and I was like, yeah, I missed this opportunity. I can't wait to go. I mean, I can't wait to go back.
Yeah,
because I missed last year's.
Yeah, I missed it too, and I'm really looking forward to this year. I'm definitely going to be there for Texas, and big plans with that. And I feel like Dan is like NYC PolaCon when that would be amazing too. But you know, we kind of strayed a little bit. How was this year's San Francisco Bay Area PolaCon?
Everyone had a great time. They're like the same thing. The same thing when I went to Denton. I was like, yeah, I'm bringing this to my city. Yes, of course. I think the SF, the Bay Area one. Sorry, I don't want to, because Bay Area is a big community. It's not only just San Francisco. It's Oakland. It's San Jose. It spreads all out. It's not just SF. I don't want to be like say that, but I think everything opened up. Everything really opened up at the right point, at the right time. People felt safer. You know, vaccines were in place. All the venues were safe, and yeah, East Bay were safe and accessible. And people just wanted to release. So again, Friday. Just rewinding, Friday we had a great time at Glass Key. Started a walk to the Geary Club, which again has a nice Polaroid wall. And my man Jason holds it down, and people were it's a Tenderloin. So if you watch Fox News, you'll see the Tenderloin is a shit show, right?
Yeah.
But everyone's dying, and people are overdosing, but.
Yeah, but if you listen to Fox News, they also talk about, you know, people who get vaccinated are pooping COVID out, and you're going to like catch COVID because of vaccine poop. And
but it's a little grimy. I mean, for people that don't live in the city, it's a little grimy. You know, it is. But if you hold your own, you're fine. You're fine. But we had a great time. The sun was setting, and it was. Some of the videos that I was running outside, some of the videos that people were just chasing the lights because we're in a grid, and it was like people were shooting portraits on one side of the street, and the light was just like creeping across, and then the party crossed the street, and this bar is only like it's this wide, like 6-7 feet wide, you know, and people were just in and out, and and yeah, it was a great time. And then everyone just marched to Chinatown, which was a nighttime walk, and it was cool to see the sunset and then go into neon. But we just took the streets and hung outside, and people were just marching around that first Friday.
And San Francisco Chinatown is such a cool spot. Like, even before PolaCon, like, because I used to work for a startup out of Mountain View, so I get a chance to spend some time in San Francisco now and then, and that was one of my favorite joints to like wander around. There's like lots of cool shit there.
Yeah, it's. I mean, we're still opening up, so it's a little changed, and but I mean, so I'm reading comments and yeah, yes. Street Party was bigger than the bar scene, but it was the Friday night was a great kickoff, and then I mean we all recovered to a Saturday Saturday walk in the Mission, which we've done before. Again, it was a mirror of what we did 2020. So we did Chinatown, we did Mission mural early in the morning, went to Parkside, and then went to Oakland.
Just the opposite of 2020, right? Because in 2020, we were seeing signs everywhere of like closing down because COVID. See you guys, opening soon. So it's the opposite. Yeah. Everything's opening up now instead of closing.
Yeah, it was like the total reverse of what was happening 2 years ago. But I mean, riding around with Daniel and Andy, who came in from Instant Film Society again this time, going 1 year ago in the time machine, going, oh, only 30 people can be here. Broke that rule this time around because people were vaccinated and in the spaces. So yeah, Saturday. I mean, the big blowout, honestly, was the Parkside. I mean, they're a great host, and we just like 2020, we blew them out because that was the last show they had for 2 years. Mm-hmm. And we came back in a whirlwind with tons of people. People were like parking their cars out front. Like I was unloading stuff, and then friends were like, "No, you can't park here." And I was like, "What do you mean I can't park here?" And then there were other Polaroid people saying, "Oh, we're just gonna roll up and like tailgate outside the Parkside." And I was like, "Yeah, all right, it's on. It's on."
That's wild. So there was like not only a thing going on in the Parkside, but you guys had like a street party going on too.
I'm still catching up on some of the images that are coming through just on the outside of the Parkside. Because again, like JP, like there's a lot of people that came in and like I think the same reason that I came into the PolaCon, they were like, I want in. I
mean, who doesn't? When you figure it out, it's an amazing thing to be part of.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the PolaCons definitely hold a special place for me. Is like, some good core memories have happened during PolaCons.
Yeah, you were missed.
Dude, I missed you guys so much. Like it was even like leading up to that weekend, I was just like, should I do it? Like, but what like held me back a little bit was the possibility of testing positive on the way home. I'm like, I can't afford 2 weeks in San Francisco.
You could have just held out in the lab or the basement. We have Wi-Fi.
So like, yeah, my thinking with Denton is like, even if and Chris is finally getting his fucking passport. So
he texted me. He sent me that message. I was like, and 2 years later, like.
Yeah, he's like, hey Brian, until I get a passport, can I send you an iPhone that you can wear and bring me around with you on photo walks? It's so Christy says, ha ha ha, people in San Francisco can't afford 2 weeks in San Francisco. It's true, sadly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough, but like I'm a little more okay with the risk in Texas if there's still the testing requirement, because I'll probably crash with Armand, and if I test positive, he's going to test positive. So it's like, we'll just
wait, hold on a second. You'll take the Texas risk versus the San Francisco risk?
Because I can afford the Texas risk.
I said I have a cot and some Wi-Fi.
Well,
in a room.
I could be the people under the stairs. Yeah, next year I 100% want to go to Bay Area because I missed you guys.
Of course. I mean, and there's no shame. I mean, I think we put that really out there. There's no shame. I mean, again, we're still in the pandemic.
Yeah.
There's
No,
there
we
is
won the
no,
pandemic though, didn't we? It's over. We beat it. Success.
well, there is no saying that we're done. Like we're like in my mind, I was like, okay, this is happening like to the day going, oh my gosh, are we going like who's testing positive? I was swabbing my nose every night. And because I mean, no, who wants to get COVID now
No.
at this time? And if you had it, who wants to get it again? That sucks, right? For over a Polaroid, boo.
What are you talking about? It's totally worth it. Especially for some pack film. I'd probably get COVID for some pack film.
Well, depends on what you're shooting. I mean, if
Yeah.
it's fresh in the refrigerator and how many.
Yeah. So, okay, let me preface that. For some really well quality kept pack film and not the stuff that Brooklyn Film Camera sold in their last batch.
Uh-oh. I see a shot across the bows, but no. Yeah, like Andy had a false positive. Like, I don't
Oh,
want to
shit.
call out you, like, don't want to, like, go against any HIPAA laws, but yeah.
Well, no, he said that in the chat here. He was like, I had a false positive test when I got back.
Yeah.
And then, so going back to the 8x10, Chris also had a question. What was the deal with that huge format instant thing I kept seeing Brian with on Instagram?
So I told myself this, bring an extension cord, because the first PolaCon, we blew out 2 processors shooting 8x10.
You have some shitty power there, I think, right?
No, it was shitty capacitors that were made and they got replaced. But not knowing, I mean, it's me. I was like, oh, the power was good, but bringing an extension cord, this is a note to myself, because I had to run back and forth. The power that we had near where we were shooting 8x10s 2 years ago wasn't sufficient. That's why the whole IV SX70 moved to the stage, because they couldn't power anything up.
You got to do what Armand does with his 8x10 setup. He uses that like Paul C. Buff mini Vagabond thing, and that powers the processor pretty good.
Yeah, but I mean, it was definitely in the moment, and I found a plug that was going. People started cycling in. It was an event, and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna just shuttle back and forth. If I had an extension cord, I could have just not ran as much as I did, and there are a lot of, I was running through crowds just to process 8x10. But that 8x10 was donated by a local photographer who was like, it's expired, I can't shoot this. So
dude had that much 8x10 just fucking laying around?
So apparently he donated it to Underdog, and it was just because he couldn't shoot it because it had divots in it. You know, if you run a studio and has divots in it, you're not gonna charge that. You know, and thankfully he donated to the right people, because what everyone got is a free 8x10. You know.
Dude, I saw that mountain and I was just like I wept a little bit when I saw that mountain, because I was just like, oh my god, that's so much 8x10. Like,
well, I mean, again, I think it was a big celebration of coming out of COVID. You know, we're not out, but at least an event in at least the clouds opening up. So
I was wondering if like Polaroid maybe hooked you guys up or something.
I wish, but the Polaroid gods did, and it was a blessing, and it came way earlier than PolaCon Bay Area, and it was kind of an easy dunk. I mean, there are some backstories on that, because yes, we had some ASL people that were going to come to PolaCon for the first time, and they requested translators for the whole event. and
Oh,
that
wow.
would have blown the budget way out. And it was something that we were going to take donations for to pay for the translators because they're professional translators. And it was the first time like I ever got asked for that services in an event that I hosted, and I was like, "Oh yeah, of course we're gonna do this. Yeah, what's your rate? Let's do this. Let's do this." And unfortunately, they didn't show because they were feeling a little sick, and thankfully, I mean, because everyone is like being safe around crowds, they felt sick to come to the event, and then that's why the tip jar just kind of disappeared.
That's cool though that you were going to do that accommodation. Like that's a big step. I don't think a lot of things would have done that. And then Dan says the spreads were pretty good for the most part. And Zane
for the most part.
Yeah, and Zane says Polaroid needs to make some more damn 8x10, and I agree. They keep saying wasn't it supposed to be last summer?
It's all that stock was 2019.
Holy shit.
So,
well, yeah, like I think they stopped production of a lot of stuff during the pandemic, thinking no one was going to buy Polaroid, and it kind of backfired in their face because, like, what's everyone going to do when they're sitting at home bored by themselves? You know, fuck around with like taking some nudes of themselves.
Yeah, I mean, how many self-portraits or apples can you take? Like, I'm tired. It was fun. I mean, it was like, again, I was running around like a madman, but it felt like very cleansing to just like, I've never shot that many 8x10s in my life in an afternoon in the backyard of the park side.
That's awesome, man. I wish I could have witnessed it.
Nah, don't worry. There's still some. We only shot 5 boxes, so.
Oh shit.
Or 6 boxes, so. There's.
Well, I may have to make like a non-PolaCon related trip down sometime too, because I just miss the city.
You know, you're always welcome.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, it was just it looked like I was so happy for everyone that was able to get down there because it's such a special event, and it was cool to see a lot of new fresh people there. Saw Ben brought a posse of people, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. They came full force. And I got to meet some people that I like followed from a distance or pseudo followed. I'm not on the cool Discord, but like I know these people. I was like, hey, and there's a lot of camaraderie around that, and just like coming into the city, San Francisco. I mean, I'm from Jersey, but this is my home now. Just seeing like a lot of East Coast people like come in and go, oh my gosh, this is cool. And yeah, you're welcome. This is cool.
I feel like Dan says it was his first PolaCon too, and I was super bummed out. When I saw he was down there, I was like, fuck, it would have been cool to meet Dan. We had such a good chat a few months ago. He was a wicked cool guy.
Yeah, I think again that we don't know what's going to happen in the next couple weeks, months, whatever. But definitely the clouds opened up, and then people just dived in.
And Saturday my Apple News was shitting on my nice day today, being like, possible spring outbreaks. I'm like, shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear any more about that business.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to down the party by saying, yeah, another variant is on its way, but yeah, it's on its way.
I mean, I think the reality is this is just kind of how our world's going to be. Like,
yeah, if people get vaccinated, then this is going to be the flu, honestly.
But don't tread on my freedom, Brian.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna I'll drive my truck 3,000 miles, but I won't take take a shot.
You got to
to
honk
like
your
save
horn the
me and
whole
my
way.
family.
Don't
Anyway,
forget.
let's not talk about this anymore.
Yeah, it's true. It's
Oh, and then I mean, we ended. So going back to PolaCon, I'm gonna jump right back in because Saturday was a blast. Like at the parkside was a blast. We ended up at a brewcade in my neighborhood, Detour, which my kids love because it's like vintage video games, pinball, blah blah, everything. And we end up there, and then all night I reserved a couple tables. We took the whole place over, and it was just like peel. Everyone's shooting, playing pinball and video games, and it was. Thankfully, it was like right around the corner from my house. So I was like la la la, like la 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 la, stumbling back and forth, and got home. But yeah, Saturday was the big event, and then going into Sunday was kind of the recovery day. We people that were in San Francisco went over to got to the ferry building like we did 2 years ago. Took the ferry over to Oakland, and shooting on the ferry. Walked around Jack London Square. We didn't have to run to the bar that was closing because pandemic was happening.
Well, yeah, because the governor like shut California down or whatever, right? And they're like, you got to get here if you want tacos, like now.
Yes, if you want tacos now, run.
Yeah,
run to the bar we're going to. Yeah,
that
it wasn't like that.
That was a wild day. Like. And then we like cruised by the quarantine ship.
Yeah, one of those first. Yes, one of the first like ships that couldn't dock anywhere, and then they finally were like, you can go to Oakland, and
yeah, because why not? Just send the plague to Oakland. They won't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was Doc. That was Doc's. Yeah, it was like you could see it as we were taking the ferry, and you could see it going like, that's the plague ship.
So Chris asks, does the latest PolaCon show that the community is growing? What do you think?
I think it is. I think it's a little disjointed, because I think there's groups. Instant Film Society is definitely the umbrella under PolaCon, and everyone should follow Instant Film Society. Period. That's where it should start. I mean, we have our little like fiefdom here in San Francisco, the SF Instant Film Society, SF Instant Photo Walk, which is the numbers are like this, but we're not a numbers game. But there's people there, If I could hire a staff to grow it and then get some like sponsored coin, sure, but that's not where it is. But every group is reaching out. I mean, we are coming out of the pandemic. Even prior to the pandemic, I was like, yeah, whatever. There's like 10, 20 people that are the core to this tour, core to the SF Instant Photo Walk group. But it is growing. I think it is. I mean, and every group every city should have its own group.
Yeah.
Your homies that pull out a Polaroid.
Yeah, like I haven't met a ton here in Vancouver yet. Yeah, home people. It could be all inclusive, and who doesn't want some sponsorship stuff? Like I wouldn't mind a sweet sponsorship from Pacific Pilsner. It's brewed from the finest waters out of the Caribou, just downstream from the pulp mill in Prince George. It's refreshing, and it's I think like $10 for a case. So there you go.
I will. I'm gonna get another beer, but I will jump in on that sponsorship thing because the early instant SF photo walks, we had 2 beer sponsors. We had
Really
Speakeasy that would drop off beer, and we have a newer one, a Laughing Monk, But yeah, beer sponsors on Puddle Walks, and we can bring water and pop for everybody else who doesn't drink.
But we can't say
sponsors
beers and cameras, or we have to pay for the licensing to utter that slogan.
I'm not saying no. That's bullshit. Like, I drink beers and have cameras.
Well, go get yourself another beer, and then we'll talk about sponsorships.
It's right behind me. I'm in my
All
kitchen.
right. So going back to Pacific Pilsner, my appreciation for this beverage started as an underage drinker, hanging out in Cranbrook, British Columbia. Back in those days, it was a white can with a really cool little blue sailboat on it, and we liked drinking it because it was cheap. And still, as a fully grown person in my 40s, I still enjoy drinking it because it's cheap.
Is this a paid sponsorship?
No, I'm trying to get a sponsorship.
Oh, okay. All right. I was going to say, I'm like, I'll help you. Because, like, you just got to send me some. I'm drinking 21st Amendment.
I've never... Oh, I saw IPA. I'm a little bit of a lightweight, so the hoppy stuff is a little too much for me. This is a Pilsner. It's easy going. It was actually... So this was founded by a dude named Uncle Ben. And Uncle Ben, he got his kick by making rip-off beers. He would make, like, Bud with 2 Ds.
Oh, do you have those cans?
No, but it was interesting seeing the history of, like, the Pacific Western Brewing Company that makes this beer in Prince George, British Columbia. And he started it by just blatantly ripping off other bands and just undercutting them with this, like, cheap beer. And his name still persists. He makes, like, Caribou and some other beers too, but, I like Pacific Pilsner.
Wait, is that the same place that did the Duff beer? Because I know that was brewed in Canada.
I don't know if they did Duff. I'm not... I wouldn't be surprised if, like, Molson or something did that one.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I mean, it's like... But, yeah. I don't know that history, but I'm like, if someone's going to rip off a beer, got to rip off Duff.
Yeah. Nothing like Duff. Where is it here? What is Duff
PolaCon
beer
Canada.
in real life? The Simpsons to brew officially licensed Duff beer. What is it here? An unauthorized batch of Duff beer in Mexico in 2009.
Okay, well, there.
But that forced them to create an actual licensed one so that people weren't ripping off the beer. So, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't say who got it. It just said that they were planning on licensing, but that's kind of fucking
I like
hilarious.
how the unauthorized forced the licensee to make the beer so they can make money.
Yeah. Sounds about right. Because capitalism. Why not? Chris wants to start a PolaCon in the Kootenays, but I think that would be neat, but the problem is the Kootenays is too small and it's not easy to fly in. Like, it would probably be easier to do, like, a PolaCon in, like, Vancouver or Toronto.
Yeah, I say I'll go to Vancouver all day.
Yeah.
So let's get it cracking, son.
Let's do Vancouver. We'll talk to Andy.
Good.
Once things open up and testing requirements aren't as crazy,
Yeah.
we'll make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we've chatted before. It's like it's been 2 years.
It has. And it's wild to think that, because it doesn't feel like 2 years, because we haven't really gone many places. Like, so when I think back and it's like I realize it's been 2 years, it's like, holy shit. Fuck me.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, well, wait, you moved across country.
I did.
And that's a big pandemic move.
Yeah, and so I did it twice, because I helped my partner move in November. So November 2020, I helped her move to Vancouver. And then May 2021, I moved myself. across to Vancouver. And because I'm a stubborn asshole, I really like that trip was super fucked up because, well, I'm still dealing with my brain injury. So like, I don't brain right all the time. And when I moved
you brain great on the film though, son.
Thanks, man. When I moved to Toronto, I had a completely different car. I had a 2009 Volvo Cross Country, and it was an amazing car. I loaded up a U-Haul trailer, and I moved all my shit over. And then when I was moving back, because a car accident killed that car, I have a 2007 Volvo V70 now, which is similar but different because it's like the Cross Country was like a 4x4, so it had like a higher like ground clearance and shit like that.
Yeah.
And the V70 is more like a road car. But in my brain, I'm like, it's a Volvo and it's all-wheel drive, so I can do the exact same fucking thing I did when I moved out here. So I got a U-Haul and I loaded it all up. But I didn't factor in that I lived in Toronto for 4 years and I amassed a whole bunch of shit and I overloaded the fuck out of the trailer and the car. And like when I was pulling out, I was like, oh, this looks a little dicey. Like the back end was looking a little dumpy, but I'm like, whatever, fuck it. I'm committed to this. And it was
go 45 or
well, I was gonna just go 45, but then I was like, fuck, I'm a wild man, I can't do that. So I was doing like 120 130 kilometers with this like fucking overloaded as shit trailer, and I made it out of Ontario, and the roads were like pretty good and clean on the way out of Ontario. But when I hit Manitoba, which is like at the middle of Canada, the roads turned to shit because like the frost heaving had like made them all bumpy and shit. So Manitoba and Saskatchewan, it was just like the whole way, and I'm like, oh my fucking god, like this can't be good, like, you know, with all this shit. And I blew out both of my rear tires in Saskatchewan, about a half hour outside of Swift Current. And
on the trailer or the truck?
On my car.
Oh, on the car. Oh, yeah.
And luckily, I had pulled over because there was like a cool sunset going on. So I pulled over to take a picture with my GW 690. And and when I was pulling out to get back on the road, all of a sudden the car was like all janky and it was all over the place. So I was like, oh shit. And I pulled over and I saw that I had a blown out rear tire and was like, fuck. Well, I'm not going to get the spare because like I got to unload the whole fucking car to like do that. So I was just like, I'll call a tow truck. Yeah.
Not laughing.
No, dude, you can laugh because it's a funny fucking story. But luckily I wasn't doing like 120 when the back tire blew out because I probably would have like fucking been all over the road and crashed and shit. But I stopped right in front of this sign for like Albert, Saskatchewan. And I was sitting there and I had a panic, and then I almost had a little bit of a cry, and then I just started laughing because I'm like, this is fucking ridiculous. I don't know where the fuck I am. I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do. And this is the first time I've ever willingly called the police. Because I was just like, I don't know who else to fucking call. So I phoned the non-emergency line, and I'm like, hi, I've never called the police before, but this is what's going on, and like you guys are supposed to help and shit, right? So like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? And she's like, here's a tow truck, call them. I'm like, perfect, thanks. And I called the tow truck.
No,
what's
that's
that?
the sign of it being an adult, though.
Right?
You know, that's. I mean, I'm a big kid.
Dude, I'm a big kid too. I just wanted to like sit there and just like cry and be like, maybe someone will help me if I just like panic enough. But I call the tow truck company, and because I'm very lucky, the only flat deck that they had in their fleet, because my car's an all-wheel drive, so you can't tow it normally.
I know those pains.
You have to flat deck it. The only flat deck they had in their fleet was busy attending a semi-truck on fire that had just started a half hour before I called in. So they're like, oh, there'll probably be a few hours. So I was there on the side of the road for 6 hours staring at this sign for Albert, like 8 kilometers away from me. I don't know who the fuck Albert is, but I fucking hate Albert because I just like it was pitch black and I had my hazards on. So like every like 10 seconds, it was just like Albert. I'm like, fuck you, Albert. Like, I hate your face. And the tow truck shows up And this big burly guy comes out. And here's the other thing too, it's COVID when I'm doing this move. So I can't ride in the tow truck. I have to phone a fucking taxi to come out to the middle of buttfuck nowhere.
You can't ride in the cab.
Yeah, because I can't ride with the dude. And it's also Saskatchewan, so no one's wearing fucking masks because, like, you know, whatever, freedom.
But that's when you give the guy like a shot glass and a 20 and just get.
No, he's like, no, you can't be in the cab. Like, company rules. I'm like, okay, you won't let me in the cab, but you're also not wearing a mask, which is supposed to be mandated right now. So whatever. Anyways, he was this big burly fucker, and he's trying to lift the trailer off of my car, and he's like, holy fuck, what do you got in here? I can't even get it off the tongue. Like, Jesus Christ. It was just like, I'm like, and that's when I realized.
I'll help you for a ride.
Well, and I was like, and that's when I realized I probably really fucked up when this like big beefy guy can't get what he had to do was get my car on the flat deck and then lift my car up while it was still attached to the trailer and put like a block down under the trailer tongue part and then drop my car on the flat deck to pop the trailer off because it was so fucking heavy. Yeah. And then because it's an all-wheel drive car, I can't just change one tire. So I have to buy 4 new fucking tires in the middle of the goddamn night, in the middle of fucking Saskatchewan, and I'm at the mercy of like whatever they fucking have to fit my car. So like I just, because the car was like, I've only had it for like a few months at this point because of the car accident. So it had brand new tires that I spent a shit ton of money on because like I don't like fucking around with tires because I like being alive. But apparently I like fucking around with overloading my car because I'm an idiot. So I end up going to Fountain Tire and some dude that looks like he walked out of like a trailer park meth lab shows up and he's like, I'm here to do your tires. And I'm like, oh, fuck me. This is going to be a late night. This is like 1 a.m. by the time this is happening. And so he fucks around, gets these tires on, but they're not a brand I'd really like, and they're not the right width for my car. They're a little wider, so he's like, you might get some rubbing. But when he took the rear tires off, he was like, holy shit, you are a lucky bastard.
So wait a second. Now we're talking about tires. You need an alignment on this.
I got an alignment afterwards, but yeah, they're like the next size up, so they just, when I go full lock, they rub a little bit, and it's fucking annoying. But when he was taking the back tires off, he was like, holy shit, you're a lucky son of a bitch. And I'm like, why is that? He's like, the other tire was fixing to blow out too. Because what ended up happening is it wasn't loaded that they were rubbing all the time, but it was loaded down enough that every time I hit a bump, the tires would toe in, and they would just rub a bunch on the inner fender. And I did 3,000 kilometers, like all through fucking Ontario and all that shit. And it wasn't until the goddamn prairies that blew it up. So I finally get the fucking tires and shit on. And then I'm like, I do the adult thing and concede and be like, you know what? I should have done what I fucking should have done in the first place, which was get a U-Haul moving truck and the car trailer and just tow my fucking car behind it. So
I thought that's what I saw pictures of, but I didn't. But I'm gonna just run real quick.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna get some D&D on there.
Alignment? Are we talking D&D again? Yeah. So I'm a fucking idiot. Is basically the moral of the story. But it does get a little.
Please the fans.
There you go. Is that what you were talking about? Cromwell being there?
No, so I saw a D&D thing, so I was like, yeah, nice. I'm deep folio, yeah. Original.
But fucking yes, so I'm calling U-Haul, being like, I need to do the adult thing. I need to rent a proper moving van and a proper trailer, and just do what I should have done in the first place. But I was trying to be cheap because I'm like, it was $600 to rent the trailer versus spending $2,800 to get the fucking truck and like car trailer and all that shit. U-Haul doesn't have what I needed in Swift Current, Saskatchewan, which was where I was stuck. And I was staying in this sketchy, fucking creepy, gross motel. It was the only place that I could find that was open at like 3 a.m. to like get me in. And U-Haul's like, we don't have what you need there, but we've got what you need in this town called Shaunavon, which is even further in the middle of fucking nowhere in Saskatchewan.
Where's Shaunavon?
Shaunavon was 125 kilometers away from Swift Current, and so, which is probably about 60 miles. Thereabouts.
Yeah.
But I was like, I just got brand new fucking tires on this bitch, and like, I don't want to fuck them up by driving a bunch. So it was the slowest drive ever to Shaunavon. But fun fact about Shaunavon, I think it's like 60 kilometers away from a town called Climax. So going to Shaunavon was the closest I've ever been to Climax in my life. So that was something to note there. And a sidebar on that one. So there's a town in British Columbia called Hope, and then there's Climax, Saskatchewan, and Alberta is sort of in the middle there. And my ex-wife wanted to enter this competition through the CBC to win a free trip to Calgary for Tourism Calgary by coming up with a new slogan for Tourism Calgary. And her best friend at the time was living in Calgary, so
I want to hear these slogans.
She really wanted to get in there, and so her best friend was like, "I got this. Let me put one together." And so we submitted her friend Megan's entry, and at that time, Gian Gameshi was running the Q, which if you're not aware of the Q, it's a great radio show here in Canada that does a lot of really interesting interviews. But Gian Gameshi was one of like the first big Me Too'd Canadian celebrity kind of things, and he did some sketchy shit, and he's no longer doing the Q, but he's a little bit pervy, and he was reading out our response, and when he got to ours, he kind of chuckled a little bit and was like, "Oh, this is a really good one," and he read out, "Calgary, somewhere between Hope and Climax."
I saw that coming in right now.
And that one is a free trip to Calgary, which was really cool. But so I'm in Shaunavon, and the dude at this like small engine repair place was like, "Oh, I can totally help you move your stuff from the van and whatever." He didn't at all. Which
wait. No, so wait, hold on a second. I'm interviewing you now. So you have new tires from the sketchy meth tire repair place. And
yeah. I drove 60 miles. So I drove 60 miles to another town to pick up the right stuff to do the rest of my move.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm following.
And I found what I can only consider the Bermuda Triangle of U-Haul equipment, because this tiny little town with like probably like 400 residents in it had all of the U-Haul equipment. Dude had probably like fucking 75 trailers and like, a dozen or so big moving trucks and a bunch of vans. And I'm like, why the fuck does this little town in the middle of nowhere have all this gear? Like, do people just move here and then vanish? And then, like, no one comes to collect it? I don't know. It was super weird. He was a super friendly dude that loved model trains and fixing small engines. But I moved 3 times on that trip because I moved all the shit into my car and trailer. And then I had to move all the shit out of the car and trailer into the van and then load my car into that and then drive this, like, fucking little cube van across the rest of the country. And, like... my Volvo is a very comfortable car. Like, it's leather seats. It's like there's not a lot of road noise. It's well appointed. I have CarPlay. It's relaxing. I was like listening to podcasts and shit along the way. And then I get in this like fucking like late 2000s like cube van GMC fucking pig of a fucking thing, and it's just like down the road for another 3,000 fucking kilometers in this like beast of a fucking thing. And I'm like, I bought like an aux cable so I could try, and I couldn't even fucking hear my music over all the road noise. So it was just like 3 days of hell. Yeah.
Because again those those accoutrements that like you go, oh, and not to shit on people who have like shitty cars, because I've owned a lot of shitty cars.
I've owned a lot of shitty cars too.
But like when you're older and you're like, I just want to just drive, and like I hear a wisp of noise, I'm like, what is that? the satellite went out. Like
Yeah,
pressing the buttons. Like bring back the music. Bring back the music.
exactly. Like I was having a really nice leisurely drive until my mistakes caught up to me and cost me a lot of money. Like, I ended up spending like $3,000 more than I really should have for that trip. Like, it was just, it was a fucking shit show. But I made it to Vancouver, and I've like settled in, and I'm still alive. So that's well and great.
I'm glad you're alive because I would have snuck across the border to kiss your ring.
Turtle Soup has a question here saying, thinking of starting a local photo walk. Any tips for getting people to show up?
Depending on the town, depending on the people, prizes,
Beer.
drinks.
Yeah.
And if you're not a drinker, that's fine.
Snacks.
I mean, prizes and drinks. I mean, and then a good time at the end.
Not always a happy ending, though.
I said a good time. You're not in between climax and hope, just in the middle.
There's also a town in British Columbia called Stoner, and they get their signs stolen all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw some other things that were flipping through, like, Cromwell, Polaroid Boston, of course. Gotta go back to Mecca. No offense to anybody, but Polaroid Boston.
Boston is such a cool place too, and like, if MIT ever opens up the Polaroid exhibit again, that was such a cool exhibit.
It happened. I was trying to get there so bad.
That actually, so PolaCon Bay Area wasn't my last trip before the end of the world.
Because it opened during the pandemic.
It did, and so like, 'cause
yeah.
I went to PolaCon, and then the next week I was supposed to be in Boston for training, and I flew in early for the trip so I could check out the MIT exhibit, and so I flew in that weekend, and then Monday morning I'm getting ready to go to my training out in Hopkinton. And I get an email being like, training's canceled. Don't worry about flying down here. And I phone my boss being like, dude, I'm already in Boston. Like, what do I do? And he's just like, whatever. You had a free vacation time on the company dime. And I'm like, really? He's like, what can you do? They canceled last minute. And so, peace to Eric Poulin. That guy was the shit. And, the last great boss I had at Dell before I quit.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah,
but I do want to like hijack us a little bit because not hijack, but go back to to PolaCon and folks. But I do want to chat with you on congratulations on your transition to a new day job. So.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to joining the Hewlett Packard family. I think it'll be interesting.
But I did want to touch on like some of the topics that came out of post PolaCon Bay Area. I mean that we had during the virtual PolaCon Bay Area. Some of there was a talk about female representation. People of color representation in the Polaroid community, which definitely want to talk about. I mean, we had people that that were part of the group that necessarily weren't in front of the group. So, and I'm not the person to say like, oh, we are all inclusive. Person of color, yes, I'm trying to be inclusive as fuck. But there were a lot of not comments, but like where are the women where are the women forward? They were there. There was just I think there was a lot of guys there. I'm just gonna say that very like bluntly. There were a lot of guys there, there were a lot of women shooters that were there, but there were more, and that's something that it's not to be addressed, but it's also to be acknowledged. That, I mean, on your podcast, you have like put a lot of female photographers forward, and it's not something that's like the words kind of escape me right now, but again,
well, it's been a conscious decision for sure, because the unfortunate reality with any community, really, this is not an exclusive problem to the film community or photography community, is that like most communities tend to be massive sausage parties, because dudes tend to get more obsessed with things than other people, and then comes mansplaining and all the other problematic things that come with a bunch of dudes getting together.
And that's what I'm not. Yeah, that's not trying to do.
So, like with the chat, I've made a conscious decision to make sure that I am bringing more voices into the mix, because I've noticed that a lot of other people that do like interviews and things like that tend to just focus on mostly male content, and that's great, and I'm sure people love listening to that stuff, but I also like hearing the opinions and the experiences and the projects that other people are working on too, because being completely frank, most of the male photography is kind of boring. It's just
of course, and some, the people I surround myself are not based on gender, like. So I just wanted to shout that out,
Yeah, and like
that's for sure. Yes. I'm sorry, I'm reading some of the contents, the comments, but no, I definitely wanted to shout that out, because we didn't have on this Bay Area PolaCon, what we had on our virtual one was like more. More female shooters contributing. There were a mix in the park side, but it was nuts in the back.
Christy says we should also have women talking about what women are looking for versus guys telling other guys what we are looking for. I feel like that might be a little bit of a shot fired, but I don't disagree with that comment at all. But I think it is also important for guys to have this conversation with other males and men, because so many of them don't get it. And it's important to advocate to change minds. And I mean, some minds won't get changed. And that's unfortunate, whatever, but you can quickly learn that those aren't your people.
They just don't get invited to the party. So
yeah, that's exactly it. They're not your people. They won't get invited into the parties and whatnot. But there's a lot more interesting work out there being done by a lot of other people, and the whole male dominated shit is tiring. And that's something that I keep in mind when I'm looking for guests and when I'm talking to people, is that I don't want to fall into a lot of the regular tropes of let's jerk off about Leica for the next hour, and what's your favorite focal length, and what film stock gets you all rock hard and excited to take photos, whatever, man.
We're soft and wet, so it's okay.
Yeah, or that. I mean, my guest last week, I absolutely loved chatting with her, Diane Kahn. I had no idea who she was going into the chat. She's kind of a really big deal, it turns out. She's been in Hollywood for quite a while, and she's done some amazing. Her husband did some amazing things as well too. And her book I found really fascinating, because she made this book called Holding Hands. And it's really sort of like a commentary on human connection. And so she took these photos of people holding hands from behind, And she ended up using various iPhones because she shot this over, I think, 7 or 8 years and accumulated like thousands and thousands of photos of people holding hands. But initially she tried doing it with like a Lumix. And she's like, here's the problem with trying to do this with a regular camera. And she picks it up and she's like, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Okay, I can take a picture. 4,000, 5. Okay, and now the moment's gone. And she's like, versus the iPhone, like I just lift it up, click, photo done. And I was like, that's so fucking rad that you made this book that you've like, she spent a bunch of money publishing it properly. That's all iPhone photos, because I think a lot of people feel that they can't do projects like that. They can't do, or they can't be taken seriously photographing things if they don't have a real big person camera.
Well, and I'm going to jump in right there too, because like during the pandemic, it's always been like no dogma. You know, I've been letting all that fall to the wayside. You know, if you take a good image, you take a good image, right? Like, fuck if it's on film, fuck if it's on a phone. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and that's the thing,
like,
too. It's like you could spend all that money to go buy a fucking Leica M11. It doesn't mean you're automatically going to take wicked awesome pictures.
Exactly. Because it's like I hand my kids a camera and they're just like, whoop, that's awesome. Or you hand someone else. It doesn't, I mean, the image, if you look through the viewfinder, if you see what you want to see on the other end of that image, you win. You win. So, like, that, one of my big things during the pandemic is like, no dogma. Let it go.
Mm-hmm. And like it doesn't matter at all. Like, you can do really cool things with anything. Like, I visited my niece and nephew a couple weeks ago up in Kamloops, and I'd found, when I was unpacking some stuff, an Ilford XP2 400 disposable camera that my brother gave me for Christmas is like 2 or 3 years ago. And I was like, fuck, I should use this camera. And then I was like, you know, it'd be really cool. I got the kids a couple of those Kentmere reusable disposable camera things, because there was a hell of a deal on them. It was like $40 for the camera, which was probably like $10 American. And it came with 2 rolls of Kentmere 400. And I was like, I got a challenge for the kids.
Which is the same thing as HP5.
Yeah, exactly. It's just cheaper. And so I told the kids, I'm like, here's a challenge with Uncle Merlin. Uncle Merlin got this camera from your dad, and I'm going to give you these cameras. And this weekend, we're going to take a bunch of pictures together. And once it's all done, I'll take the film back to Vancouver. I'll get it developed, and we'll hop on a Zoom, and we can look at everyone's photos. And don't treat this as it's like, you can only take a few pictures because it's special. Go nuts with it, because we can use as much film as you want, and it doesn't matter. Like, let's just make some cool stuff. And they don't know this yet, but like, once it's all done and we look at it online, I'm going to make them a little book of all their photos and send that up to them as a surprise. But it was cool. Like, my little nephew, he's like 5 or 6 now. He went apeshit with the camera, and he shot 3 rolls. I'm pretty sure he fucked up 2 of them because the first roll that he had, he came in and he was just bawling, and he's like, Uncle Merlin's gonna hate me. And I'm like, what's going on, buddy? And he's just like, I was running with the camera and I fell on it and it popped open and all my pictures are gonna be destroyed. And I'm like, well, I mean, some of them probably will be, but probably not all of them. And I was like, dude, I don't hate you, and I'm not going to be upset about it. And I was like, you know what you did? You created art. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, when the light hits the thing and you don't mean to do it, it's going to like make streaks and do all this crazy. And he's like, what? It's going to have cool stuff like lightning? And I'm like, well, not really like lightning, but like, you know, it's going to, he's just like, that's so rad. And he got all jazzed about it. He went from being like super bummed that I was going to be mad at him to like, he was just like, oh my God. And I think he purposely opened up the next roll because of that, because he wants like sweet lightning.
don't tease the alti process too early, because you gotta like shoot through the camera first.
Yeah, so he comes out and he's like, Uncle Merlin, I finished my second roll. Look, I did it. And he had it open, and I'm like, oh my God, buddy, no. Like, I was like, when you finish the roll, like, get an adult and have the adult rewind it for you. And he's like, okay. And then he's like, I'm like, I'm not mad. Like, this is rad, dude. I'm so glad that you went nuts. His sister was a little more reserved. She only shot one roll because she was like, well, this is really special. I'm like, it is, but also you can use it. We have more film. We like, look at all of I had like a bag of film. Like, we have so much film. Don't worry about it. But she was a little more reserved and like a little more, I think it's because I gave her a digital camera when she was 5. And so she's been shooting a little longer. And so like she likes to think out things a little bit more. And was that?
Can I interrupt this?
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. I'll be right back. You keep talking.
Okay.
Back. I heard something at the front door. So
No worries, man. No worries. Yeah, Dan said it was an insanely raw talk. And he was super moved by a lot of things that I talked about last week with Diane's chat. And yeah, that was an interesting chat because, got into like depression and suicidal ideation and like why I take photos, which is like to remember. It's like my memory was pretty bad before the car accident, but since the car accident, it's been exponentially worse. So I kind of use like photography a little bit like memento, I guess, to like, remember shit so I don't forget it, which I think is really important. And Christy says, let's talk about the art and stories. And I like that. Like, that's what I want to focus with the chat more, is not so much talking about like gear and like whatever. Like, I like to use the chat to get to know people and like what drives them and what gets them excited. And so that's what's been more fun about the chat, is just getting to know the photographer instead of like, what camera did you use when you took this photo? Like, it matters somehow. Yeah. Welcome back, Brian.
Oh yeah, sorry. So we live in the city, and sometimes Amazon or FedEx just leaves things on our stoop, and it gets stolen. So I thought I heard a ding dong, and I'm waiting for a package. So
Amazon does that here too, and like I live in the backyard of my property. And sometimes they come through the alley, and my landlady, she's a bit paranoid, so she has the gate locked all the time. And the fuckers just, like, throw my shit over the fence. And so it's, like, delivered, and I'll go to look for it. And I'm like, where the fuck was it delivered? And then I'll, like, walk to the back gate.
Find it.
Yeah, and, like, one time I ordered a UPS, and they fucking threw the UPS over the fence. And I was just like, great, is the battery going to be fucked up or something? Like, you lazy shits.
Yeah, we don't have a gate, so it's just like on the stoop. So
Damn.
Literally, like, imagine like a city street where like you're just walking by, and you're like, oh, there's a package. Yoink. So
yeah, that whole Amazon theft is kind of a wild thing, right? Or like package theft is kind of a rampant thing.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta keep an eye on when it's coming and blah blah blah. So that's why I apologize.
Oh, no worries, man. Have you glitter bombed anyone yet?
No, that's evil.
Is it though?
That's evil.
Because people stealing packages, I kind of feel like they may deserve a little glitter in their life.
But like, I don't want glitter on my stoop.
No, but they take it home and open it up, and then or like take it in their car.
They usually rip it right there, and then take the inside. They take the actual thing and walk away.
Oh.
So, like, you'll see remnants of like ripped open packages in the neighborhood, or like, we have a lot of food orders here too, and you'll see people that like leave food on their stoops, and I'm walking by going, I would eat that. It's like,
no.
There's like, can you leave your food on the stoop for how many hours? I don't know. But yeah.
That seems a bit sketchy.
Anyway, I mean, that's the price to live. I mean, in the suburbs, yeah, you got your Ring cameras and blah, 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 but like, I don't know. I'm just like, yeah. All my shit's stolen.
It's all good, man. I worry about that here with the studio because I was thinking of getting some stuff mailed here, but then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to risk it. I'll just have shit mailed home.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was, dude. Thank you for spending some time with me, and it was cool to get the recap on PolaCon, and you know, sorry we strayed a little bit there in between.
No, this is. I'll talk to you anytime, homie. You know, again, there's a lot of interest in bringing PolaCon everywhere. I mean, yeah, I want to go everywhere too. We're gonna have it again in 2023. March.
I'll be there this time.
Yeah, but I'll see you in Denton. And
damn rights you will. I'm excited because like I think this trip is going to be a bit of an epic one because I've been talking with Pete about the thoughts of maybe driving down with him from New Hampshire in Jason's old Lincoln.
Right? It's a long drive.
4 days is what he wagers. So
4 days to Texas, New Hampshire to Texas in 4 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean obviously it's doable. You could do it in 2 and be there, but like
I think he's factoring 4 days because we're both photographers. We're probably gonna want to like pull over and take some pictures along the way and shit. And then I'll probably if I can work it with my job to be remote for a little while. I'll probably stick around until early October to hang out for Steven's birthday.
Well, I won't be that long, but I said I'll meet you in the business center.
Yeah. Well, and that's like, I've never been to Austin and checked out stuff. So like I might like, take one weekend and like, head down to Austin and check that out. And so,
yeah. So the last, I'm going to just keep talking about, the Denton PolaCon. So in Dallas, last year we were trying to get a, conspiracy theory photo walk the Thursday before the Friday. So go to where like JFK got shot, all the things that Oswald did before, because I don't know. So I want to get there early just to walk around Dallas because I've flown in Dallas. I never really hung out in Dallas. I want to see all the cougs in Dallas.
Well, and Deep Ellum is really cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah, checking out a bit more because I've only seen little bits of Deep Ellum, but it would be cool to explore more of it for sure. JFK Pola Walk is what Andy's saying there. Here I am, shoot some Polaroid.
I want to shoot from the grassy knoll.
There was 2 shooters on the grassy knoll,
and it was all Polaroids.
Yeah, it was all Polaroids. And I mean, like, if you want to have a PolaCon come to your town, I think the best thing to do would be to make sure that you're following Instant Film Society on Instagram and send them a message and be like, hey, what's up? I want to be friends with you guys. Let's hang out. Let's make it happen. And then you can bug Andy and, Daniel and all those guys and, see if you can make it happen. Because I would love to hit up more cities for PolaCon. I love traveling. I miss traveling.
Right?
Yeah.
Party with the Q. Come on, Jesse.
Party with the Q. Well, I mean, so isn't JFK Jr. the president right now? I thought that's what was going on because, like, Senior was supposed to come back to life to announce it.
Again, that walk would be so epic. Just walk around and spew like bullshit and shoot Polaroids.
Dude, I would be down with it. We could have the Who Shot JFK barbecue.
Zing.
But or wait, no. I think I.
Oh, you got stingers now. Oh, look at you.
I only got 2. I got the And then
That one is more my life.
you know what? That's, I think, all of our lives right now.
Right on, homie.
But dude, thank you so much for hanging out with me, and yeah, everyone for tuning in. It's always great to have these chats with everyone, and dude, it's always great to see your face and chat with you. I miss you a ton, and I can't wait for us to hang out. And can't wait to see all the people I didn't get a chance to in San Francisco and in Texas. So that'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I definitely want to give a big shout out to all the people that supported Bay Area PolaCon. You know, obviously, like, it's in Film Society, D Parkside, Gary Club, all the crew from the SF Instant Photo Walk. That's like Jaya, that's Christy, that's Cromwell, that's Kent, the East Bay Photo Collective, with Vince and Anita, missing a whole bunch of people. But like, again, it's not just bringing like a PolaCon to your town. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of people behind me that support it. And yeah, and JP, everybody, everybody. So
JP's the real MVP.
It couldn't happen. Yeah, it couldn't happen without everybody. It's like, it's not just me; it's everybody. That
also, don't forget to keep buying Polaroids so they keep making it.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
And let's give a shout out to capitalism while we're at it.
Keeps the wheels turning.
Yeah, something like that. Why not? Yeah. But thank you again, Brian. I'm gonna have Mr. Mocha play us out here. It was great chatting with you as always. Next week, I'm gonna have John Tyson joining me. He's a Canadian film photographer and an avid fan, so it'll be cool to chat with him. I think he joined me on the New Year's wrap up, which was a bit of an impromptu thing, so figured it was time to give him his own official episode. And if there's anyone that you think would be interesting for me to talk with, feel free to fire me a DM and let me know. I'm always looking for more people to chat with. So, stay safe out there, and wash your hands, wear a mask if you want to, just be decent and not a dick. Yeah. Cheers, man. I love you, dude. Take care.
Love you too. Right back. Be safe.
All right. Bye, man.